Hello,
Okay.
folks. As you see, we've got Aristo with us again today, and he has chosen a subject that's a follow-up to the one that we did yesterday with Christopher Timms. And the title for today is Prepping for the Present Moment. And you've all met, or well, at least most of you probably have met Aristo before. And so I'm going to let him take off with this and see where we go.
I myself have no clue where we're going to go. It just came to me in a flash, in the present moment, as it were. And I saw, the video that you did before, but this is basically a different kind of approach. Like I said, I don't know how the approach is going to pan out, if this is going to be worthwhile or not, but I think it should be interesting. You see, I chose the title because of a paradox. We think that the present moment is something that is a given. And all we have to do is just be here, or we are already here. So it doesn't really matter. It's a matter of perception, or it's a matter of perspective. And yet at the same time, perception, perspective, consciousness, awareness, our responses, everything, these create our reality. Our reality is that. Our reality is our perspective. And there are two elements to our perspective, in my opinion. Or at least one can organize two elements. One is the passive element, and the other one is the active element. The passive element is essentially what most people consider being in the now. It's just receptivity to all that is, without projecting into the future or lingering in the past. It's simply being physically present. And when I say physically present, you see, the ideal state of what you might call enlightenment is not projecting or having the light come into you, or you going to the light, or you being in nirvana, or you being in samadhi, or whatever the state may be called. It's not being illumined. It's essentially being fully you, present. So you cannot do this without the physical body's participation. Otherwise, you are not present. You are projected, you see. The physical body never stands alone unless you're dead. So because of death, we consider the physical body as perishable, even as illusionary. However, the physical body simply shifts, during death. You might say, okay, if something goes beyond the corporeal frame, then we just leave and there's no corporeal frame. Oh, but there is a corporeal frame. You have the planet, you have the cosmos, you have, you don't go to another dimension, in my honest opinion. Again, these things cannot be proven, but I'm just reaching back to traditions and what the shamans always communed with the dead. And an interesting thing, even in the Bible, you see the day of judgment when the dead shall rise, etc., etc. But if you look at the symbolism, it doesn't mean physical bodies shall rise. Even though I know the fundamentalist preachers and stuff, interpret it that way, that you're going to have graves popping up and, people are going to pop out. I don't know what, or else they're just going to pop out like that.
Well, Ezekiel's Valley of Dry Bones, where the bones started coming together and then were fleshed, but then all of a sudden they were able to stand up and move and have life again.
Yes.
Visible manifestation.
Exactly. And so you would have anybody, and this assumes, which is counter to Christian esoteric thought, which believes in reincarnation. I mean, a lot of the Apocrypha state, again, the main canon doesn't agree with this, and but I'm getting into things that I don't even believe myself in terms of, established Christian doctrine. I don't believe that this is true. I'm reading it esoterically, and esoterically, you don't have trillions of souls all waiting to pop out of the ground, and the planet's going to be full, and the dimensions are going to change. See, we keep compensating. We keep changing the script to make things in such a way that we neuter the esoteric potential of it, because there's no point, in my opinion, to evolution if it's just going to be a bunch of us running around blindly and then undergoing some tribulation where we suffer even more than we've suffered before, and then all of a sudden everything's fine and everybody's taken up. where we don't participate, where we don't really evolve. You know, there is no evolution in Christian doctrine, in my honest opinion, in terms of the soul itself. The souls are given, everything is set, fate is written, God knows whatever's going to happen. Allegedly, you have the choice, but from all the interpretations that I've read in the Bible, the only thing I see is obedience. That's the only issue. Obey the word. If you obey the word, then everything is fine. Have faith, believe. You know, believe just means that if this is true, then you have to obey. You don't believe, you don't have to obey. You know, because it's not really true. But belief isn't the thing. You know, that's not, well, it's not good enough. You know, they'll even tell you, well, if you just believe it and don't do the law, if you don't obey the law or the commandments, blah, 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 commandments, you know. So then again, there's a submission. Even the word Islam, if you take the other Abrahamic religions, means submission. The very word is a medieval term. You know, it came up at a time of, you know, feudalism, a time of authoritarianism, kings. So people understood it, you might say.
Divine right of kings and all that stuff.
All that stuff, where you had to submit. The peasant submits. That's all the peasant does. Submits and does what they're told. I read some Hebrew analysis of the, you know, the Garden of Eden and the fall and all of that, and it said, well, basically the problem was not even the Hebrew. The Hebrew one was actually made more sense in some way, because it said, well, God set up Adam and Eve to make that choice, to get booted out, so they can go through this whole fucking rigmarole and evolve and whatever, mature. You know, that was, it can't be explained any other way, really, unless it's some sadistic, you know, archon. Otherwise, it's just done on purpose. But the Christian guy said, no, it's just a matter of God set up Adam and Eve to see if they were going to obey, but he already knew they weren't going to obey. You know, so he just set them up to prove that they were worthless, which makes him look bad because he made them. You know, these are implications. Of course, the guy isn't going to admit these things. So now you have people pissed off at Christianity. You know, I'm into esoteric stuff, as I've said before, and a lot of people into that stuff are just reacting against Christianity. If these people weren't born Christian, they probably wouldn't be gung-ho about the so-called occult stuff. You know, it would have just been a given. Maybe they would have become atheists, or I don't know. That's just the way I perceive it. So the thing is, you're doing something because you're reacting against something else, and that something else was you know, social engineering in itself, but it's your truth because you've been raised by it, like any animal that's being trained in the circus or whatever, the circus of life. So all of this, what does this have to do with anything? Well, that is the not being in the now, but it is the preparation. You see, being in the now simply means, or being in the present moment or any moment that has to do with reality, it means being physically present, which means being sensorially present. You know, that is one level. But you see, we want easy solutions. We always want easy solutions, and we don't understand that that's just the, you know, it's just the first step. So the thing is, we want to keep things simple, easy, and then in the end, we really don't want to do anything at all. We just want everything done for us. If we had a choice, we would tell, you know, let's put it deistically, we would tell God what to do. God would be our slave. We would be the ones who would just give, you know. So imagine you're a creator, you create these beings, you know, they come up, you know, they're faltering around, you allegedly love them, and then you let them do whatever they want. In the end, they enslave you, you see. That's because if you really take the logical conclusion of most people's idea, they want to be taken care of. They want everything to be done for them, but they don't want that really. They really want to do everything they want. They want to be free, but it's too hard. So in the end, somebody has to help them. But since they're not doing it themselves, they're resentful. So they're going to be a taskmaster to whatever. This is what some part of occultism does, actually. That's the bad part that people talk about.
Well, I watched a lady the other day give I don't know how long it was, 7 or 8 minutes maybe, give this diatribe on she doesn't want to work and she shouldn't have to work. And I mean, it was, the lady was nuts. But I watched the whole thing, actually, because it wasn't that long. But that's how a lot of people are.
Exactly. But actually see, the thing is, it's really, this creates controversy because there's truth within it, in the sense that I don't work, in Greek, work means dulia, and that comes from a word dulia, which means slavery. So the word work for work.
Actually, that's true. We work metamorphosized as slaves.
Exactly. Now, if it's just the actual physics term that comes from another Greek word, which means energo, which means I move, energy, and work are very close together. So this is just effort. But the effort, see, this is why I'm saying about all this about enslaving God and everything. First of all, we resent the fact that we are weak and incapable, okay? So ultimately, it is not in our nature to be taken care of by a deity, a master, an archon, a king, or whatever, or a parent. We are grown-ups. I'm speaking about adults. So we would not really be satisfied if we cannot intrinsically fulfill our own desires. That's what creativity is. The artist doesn't call for a ghostwriter to do their literature, or a ghost painter, or a ghost
Most of the time, anyway.
Most of the time, yeah. I'm talking about the artist, not the celebrity. So the thing is that resentment, we don't face that because we consider our weakness a given, and we don't want to face that given, you see. But if we really, and then when you confront people about it, they go, where's the proof? Well, the proof is in the now. It's in the present moment. And it's not just proof, that's it. I can't convince you because I'm pulling out crap from the past and I'm projecting into the future. And you can do all kinds of stuff with that. You can make all kinds of assumptions. You can say what I'm doing is an assumption, and it is. But you have to, if you are in the now moment, however, meaning you can speak when you're in the now moment. You can perceive when you're in, and you should, when you're physically present. But not only, you see, you need to be emotionally present. You need to be, and we take that for granted too. We think we're emotionally present just because I'm emotional, so I'm emotionally present. Well, no. Where are your emotions coming from? Some fantasy of the past or some fantasy of the future? So if we are emotionally present, the funny thing is, and meditators have said this, is that you actually feel a sense of well-being and even love. However, you will not deny the fact that there is also stress, and there is a sense of threat, and there's a sense of fear, and there's something your body is holding in. Your body is literally holding in the body. You see, semantics kind of also tends everything. Semantics, our environment, the food we eat, the electromagnetic radiation, especially, all kinds of things tend to make sure that we do not live in the present moment. And when we do, we are not centered. You see, we tend to project upward. Some people live in the present moment and they project into consciousness out of their heads. If you live in the present moment and you live in your head, your mind is not thinking, really. You can think, but your inner consciousness is in a kind of nirvana state. Many people call that enlightenment. It's a sense of well-being, and it can even lead to ecstatic states and communion. However, it doesn't involve the deeper levels. So you're aligned, but you're not centered. So center means going a little lower, not leaving the head, but involving the heart, and going even a little lower, involving the abdominal brain, involving the genital area, involving the feet, involving the earth, involving the air around you, everything. And being centered in who you are all the way through, and not projecting vertically. And you see, because animals are in the present moment, for the most part, especially wild animals, but they are projected downward. They are projected into the instincts, into the earth. Their earth consciousness basically is what sustains them. Four-legged animals, grounded, they don't have a vertical component. Trees do, but we don't see how trees think because they don't really move on our terms. In any case, or at least most people. So the thing is, it's not a localized centering in the sense of, okay, just the heart, just this chakra, just that thing. It's more a sense of being that, and the really the key, how do you prep being in the moment? Well, you see, even though you're going for well-being, and even though you're going for contentment in a sense, however, the key is discontent. That is the key.
The key is the key to contentment is discontent.
Exactly, because you will not settle for less. You see, if you don't embrace your discontent, if you are not kind of owning it, I'm not saying that it has to last forever. That's kind of excuse that people use because they don't want to face it at all.
Admitting the truth of your experience.
Admitting the truth of your own discontent, and the fact that if we avoid our discontent, if we are in a process of avoiding our discontent, you know, and you can actually admit that you're in discontent and that you're avoiding it without accusing yourself of anything. That's another thing. We're in so many habits that sabotage us from this preparation state. You see, we can be in the now, and we can also be preparing for the now at the same time. See, that's the paradox again. We don't have to project into the future, but we can open to the future and make plans. You know, by bringing the future into the present in our being. It's not manifest yet physically, but we can experience, you know, what our feelings about this future that we want.
This vision.
This sense of the future, because we're still in the moment. We're just simulating what we want. It's not really the future. We call it that. It's really our own aspiration in the present moment. So again, you know, sometimes you might actually be in the present moment if you didn't define it differently. You are not fooling yourself. You are not faking it, because as you are experiencing this aspiration, you also reach into your memories, into your experience. Again, you are connected to the physical frame that is you. As I said, you know, think about the afterlife experience as shifting your physical focus from a biological body frame into a terrestrial dynamic. The underworld is experienced by shamans in nature. You know, they go into trance states usually in power points of the planet, the planetary energy itself, along with certain practices, maybe certain chemical, you know, herbal catalysts, you might say, but not always. That's all connected to the planetary dynamic. So the underworld is the planet. This whole story for me about the earth being hollow, for example, and denizens being in the earth, for me, this is exactly how the shamans described it. They would go into hollows of trees, into caves, into underground, you know, they would travel astrally or, you know, in their energy bodies or as that kind of perception frame through the network of the planet within the underground realm, and experience another dimension of that, call it a quantum dimension, an energy dimension, you know, which is like a dream time, as the Australians would call it, the Aborigines. So this dream time essentially can feel extremely real. And at the same time, it is not the baseline experience. The baseline experience, the container of all other experiences, is the physical frame. If, for example, you know, we are connected to the terrestrial frame as much, we would live in a kind of collective dynamic, you know, even without physical bodies. But the earth would be the physical frame, and we could experience nature in that way, you know, in a collective manner. However, our evolution is moving us to individualize, and there's a reason for that, you know. The reason is we become more present that way. We have our own planet. We are our own planet. Even though this planet is physically dependent upon the earth, just like the energy body or the, you know, the frame of the, shall we say, deceased person or the soul or whatever you want to call it, is dependent upon the terrestrial frame. You know, what would happen if the earth got blown up? Well, then we would really have to shift our frequency, and we would be dependent upon the solar system, the sun. The sun is itself a sphere, not just the sun as a glowing ball, but, you know, there's a whole atmosphere around the sun that includes all of the planets, includes a whole bunch of bodies. It extends out a couple of light years. And then you have the galaxy and all of these things. You know, each of these realms is more probably encompassing than the previous, of course. But, you know, these may literally be the representations of many of our esoteric ideas and myths about the heavens and the gods and all of this. but we're still talking about the physical universe. We tend to jump from where we are physically on this planet, on a rock, on whatever, degrading the planet, degrading our physical life, and then poof, off to the crater that we can't even comprehend what that means.
No, we can't.
We're actually, because what we're actually doing is probably thinking about some notion of the solar system divinity, the solar god, and really, if you look at the Gnostic and the interpretations of the archons, they are entities of the solar system. They are not, divine, whatever, even the angels. How does this connect to the physical universe? Does it connect? Some people say it's a whole other realm. Again, I'm digressing here, but the point is this, that aligning yourself with your notion of spirituality and then aligning yourself with your notion of terrestriality, instinctive sensuality and stuff, without making excuses. I see some people, they make excuses for their passions. Somebody wants to get out of a relationship, so then they go, I'm looking for more love. This isn't loving for me. I want many, many people to be with me. I want to love the whole world, and then they turn back and they bitch at this other person who basically has is cheating on their partner or something like that. And they say, well, the result is the same thing, really. And you're sugarcoating your experience, in my opinion. And the other experience is not sugar-coated. It's being, it's derogatory. So, but the funny thing is, see, if we accepted a situation that's causing pain, you have relationships teach us a lot, and they teach us what suffering is on a very, very personal level. If we stop blaming and we stop feeling guilty, we can really learn what suffering is. Because we enter a situation ignorantly and brainwashed, we make commitments and we can't follow up on those commitments. And then, we blame ourselves. We try to get out of the position because while we're trying to force ourselves to stay in the commitment, the resentment gets projected onto accusing others who can't stay in the commitment. Why should they get to fool around and I have to stay in this damn commitment? And all of this, or it ruins for some people, this view of how they are. And then you have other people, and you see this in occultism, and a lot of people who deride it, they capitalize on this thing where, if you can't beat them, join them. Psychopaths do this too, but in a whole other zone. If you can't be the angel, be the devil. It's still a power figure, Yeah, I'm evil, ha ha, and I revel in it, ha ha. I'm free, I worship Satan, and where you worship the ego, I worship, I'm the great one. And we go against this oppressive God, So again, this is for me just somebody projecting. I'm not into accusing people, even though I know I'm going to confront conditioning out there in saying these things, and the conditioning is going to say, but you're accusing people. Well, look, no accusations. What it is that the advice, the suggestion here is that you can't just be in the now under your current circumstances. I'm speaking about me, about everybody. There is preparation, there is cultivation that needs to be done. Life gives you experiences, but at the same time, we live in an environment of denial. That's
the problem.
That is,
it's a major part of the problem, if not the problem.
It is the crux of the problem, because denial takes many forms. It's not just, oh, well, I can see the problems, I can see everything. No, but denial is the reason you're not in the present moment. You're denying the present moment because it's too full of what you might call crap. Too full of, for example, you're not satisfied with life. Something has been treating you badly, or you perceive it that way, or whatever. And so you want to find a cause for this. And so you need to blame something. You can blame the highest. Who's responsible? As if life was a job and fucking somebody, there's only a singular cause and everything that's happened. You see, when you put responsibility on a singular cause, you take away your own, shall we say, self-respect. You take away the substance of your freedom, because the substance of freedom, and you said something like this yourself, is responsibility. You cannot be free without being responsible for your actions. Really?
Oh, yes.
You cannot be free unless you're responsible for your thoughts, for your feelings. You have to own them. They won't be yours otherwise. They will be taken somewhere else. And so it will seem like it's all being thrown at you willy-nilly because everybody's messed up. You're in this chaotic realm. But the whole point is we are physically
25 minutes, by
incarnated,
the way,
not just, okay,
just so that you
well,
know.
yeah, that's a good thing you told me because, this kind of thing doesn't have an end. And I'm going round and round because there is no standard list or procedure. I read the other day, okay, if you want to get your videos watched, one of the things you have to do or you should be doing is just 10 easy steps to be God, 10 easy steps to be a millionaire, 10 easy steps to overcome this and that, how to be a great lover in 5 easy steps. Watch my video because the other guy's got 6 easy steps. I got 4 easy steps. We'll even reduce them to 3 easy steps. So everybody wants the minimum amount of easy steps, just sitting there picking their butt and watching some distraction. And in the end, they're just saying, well, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to think anything, but I want to feel as if I'm doing something. So you have this socially engineered system, on the other hand, that's saying, hey, how do we control these people? Well, we just listen to their denials. We capitalize on their denials. If people weren't in denial, we wouldn't be able to be controlled. Yeah, the system at this point has reached us, has backed us into a corner, has backed the whole earth it seems so. Because remember, everything we know is from either 3 sources. Let's put it 3 sources. Either it's from some form of media, alternative, regular media, mainstream, books, literature, something put forth that usually that we see with our senses that is not an immediate experience. It's not a physical immediate, it's coming from somewhere, hearing it, reading it, whatever. Or it comes from an immediate experience, our experience, either with other people in a relationship directly or nature, or it comes from our intuition, from our inner self. And if you can actually realize that the media part, all right, maybe there's some truth to it, but can you really pick out the 1 grain of truth out of a mountain of crap? Are you really capable of doing that every single time? And what are the implications of you not being able to do that? You see, can you stay aware enough to say that, okay, I'm aware that there's 9 points per 10, or maybe 1 point per 1,000 is true. 9 points per 10 are crap. 1 point per 10 maybe, and that's a very, very liberal estimate. 10% of everything, and I'm not going to go below that at all. 10% of everything might be true in a sense, but I would say far less, because even the truth is sugar-coated, and then that could be twisted just a little bit where you're looking at that 1 grain of truth and you haven't realized that it's been twisted just a little bit to just veer off into some lie again and take you with it. You see, we're being taken for a ride. So, what can we do? Well, again, you got 2 other things here.
Take responsibility.
Yeah, that's it. But again, we come from a guilt-ridden culture. We come from a blame-ridden culture. This whole thing, you look at, social media, how much can you really, you can say, oh, what's going on here? It's so confusing. Well, just put it 2 categories, guilt and blame. Where's the guilt? Who finger pointing to other people and bitching about your own life, 2 things. Or mostly basically bitching against somebody, throwing a guilt trip or a blame trip, or experiencing your own guilt or your sense of guilt, or being bombarded with a system to feel guilt for something. It's all your fault. Or, faulting, faulting. Faulting means basically gapping. It means tearing apart. It means creating division. It doesn't mean becoming whole. It doesn't mean healing. It's anti-healing. It's traumatizing. So we live in a culture where we are fooled into hurting each other constantly.
And ourselves.
And ourselves in the process, And we do this because we believe we're going to be hurt. One of the big terms today is bullying. All of a sudden, when I was a kid, I was bullied, but I thought I was the exception. Usually most people are like the group, and then you're the outsider or something. Now it seems everybody's the outsider. Everybody's been bullied, and everybody wants to get revenge for it. The system is presenting it that way. It's encouraging shit like that. And if I wasn't, hadn't had all of this life behind me, if I was 20, I'd be hook, line, and sinker. It would have been my dream. Oh, after so many years of childhood of bullying or, adolescence of bullying, all of a sudden I can go and be important, in the group or whatever, we're being, we're being, our butts are being falsely kissed. They're not even being kissed. It's just an illusion of it. And our relationships, our physical relationships are being defined.
Just went over a half an hour, by the way.
Okay. Our physical relationships are being defined by the media. And this is alternative, this is whatever. And we get distressed when we know that the media, when we figure it out, that it's all crap. That's why I'm saying, the whole thing of the world is a plan. And, it's not just the good guys and the bad guys. There is no good guys and bad guys, not pure black and white. There's all colors of the spectrum. There's compromises, there's intrigues, there's all kinds of things going on in the global field. And it's not so easy to define, but simply put, the peasant and the ruler is the polarity that basically people should understand. It has nothing to do with a horizontal nationalistic. Nationalism was something that came much, much later, and it's based on tribalism. But we're too much of a global community, whether we like it or not, to go into tribalism right now. That's based on intimate relationships. Tribes are basically people who you can't relate to more than 6 people around you, or maybe a group of 30, something like that, say anthropologists. Now, the other thing of preparation is the inward stuff. And we've talked about that a lot. You've talked to other people. I won't get into that. That's a whole other story. It's just centering. So you have your physical presence. That's a good place to start, but you also have your emotional presence. Then you have your clear mind of meditation and all of this connected to that, because then your mind isn't a blank. It's full of emotional energy, which is full of sensate energy, a tactile sense of well-being, and all of these dance together in the physical frame. Then you become powerful. Many occult methods are based on that kind of thing. They use a different language, like projecting a shield or circulating energy or whatever. But this protects you from what they say, possession and all of these things, or influence or cursing or these things. It protects you from the matrix. There are protections, but the main protection is acceptance. And I won't even say loving acceptance. I would just say tolerance of yourself, understanding that you're a human being going through crap here. All of us are. We're going through a lot, and we can't, but it's not the planet's fault. It's nobody. Take away the faults. We can't integrate ourselves if we think in a fault-like manner. And if we don't, and we can't do this if we're trying to nitpick everything the other person says. Every little, but you're contradicting yourself. You just said this, and that means you're in a fault-like manner. So whatever you say is wrong. Take the logical steps of what all of this is leading to. It means there's no hope. Let's just kill ourselves. And my thing is, who's possessing you to say that? Why don't you just, go with the demons, so to speak, go with the banners of hopelessness, of despair, of destruction, because, and even those people who promote, oh, don't you have something nice to say, something positive to say? No, we're talking about honesty, real honesty. So it's not an accusation again. It can't be, because every argument is circular. Okay, everything I say to you, I have to face it myself. So I don't need the other person's reflection of that right now. But they can probably give it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It may happen. This is the internet. This is the media. This is the land of illusion with specks of truth. But eventually, if you focus on yourself, if you focus on your alignment, if you focus on the present moment and cultivate that through your relationships and your relationship with nature, wherever you may find it, then you can come back and look at the media, and it need not be your master. It can be your teacher, even though it teaches us what is not good for us. Okay, that's it, and I could go on and on as usual, but I hope some of this at least made sense. This is not preaching, but it is also not just an opinion. It's personal conviction. And I believe that we need to honor our personal conviction.
Okay. Thank you, Aristo.
By
the way, I've had warnings that the internet connection is unstable, and there were times like your image froze for a few seconds or something.
I'm sure on the video.
What causes that?
Well, there's bandwidth ups and downs, and sometimes you might say, we don't like this message being sent forth. Maybe bots are programmed because I don't think it's done by people. You know, these are glitches, but at the same time, you know, if I wanted to keep people, whatever, somebody concentrates on what you're saying, right? And if you come to a certain point where your message gets garbled, they lose their attention span. That flimsy 3-minute attention span that people have anyways. And then the message just goes out the window. So if you want to be conspiracy minded, it may be programmed into the system. Otherwise, you know, please people bear with us. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And I've got to, you know, get this thing processed and then get on with my day's activities, which are again very busy.
Yes,
Thanks,
yes.
so,
okay.
namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.